Hey everybody, William here, and today we're talking with John. They do a house swap before it was cool. We talk about haberdasheries, great places to eat, and PTSD. I know, it's interesting. See you soon. Hey everybody, William here, and
Sarah.
and
John Hodnett.
yeah!
We are pumped to have you on the podcast today, John.
All right, place to stay, get your booty on the floor tonight.
It is only
Make my day.
2:40 in the afternoon.
I could go for some alcohol right now.
What are like 3 to 5 things you might tell other people about working with like either Will or me or like the team?
And then we're going to bring it back.
Yeah, and then we'll bring it back.
Okay, so I'm going to allow this line of questioning
Because I'm a questioner.
for the next like 2 to 3 minutes, because then you two, I could just leave and the conversation would go on for hours.
Yeah.
But I've got an agenda. So, all right. Yeah, that is a good question.
3 to 5 things that I would tell others.
Yeah.
Is this a recruiting piece? Or are we just,
No, but I was just like, you've been here now 6 months. So like I feel like we're fairly upfront about how we are and who we are.
Yeah.
Are we wrong?
No. No. In fact, I was going to say, get prepared to reacquaint yourself with yourself, because you don't know who you are. I have found myself through you guys.
Oh,
well, thank you.
I might cry on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. So I'm gonna
There's
fight
a
that
reason.
back.
There's a reason we keep Kleenexes around here, because we're a bunch of babies.
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was accountability. I knew there was, extensive training. I knew there was, like, we do real estate this way. This is the real estate portion of it. It would be short, but we do real estate this way. And I was like, well, I've been around it. I know exactly how it's supposed to go. I was the dumbest person on the planet. And yes. And
Don't talk about a friend that way, but I know what you mean.
I am better now. The people that you are surrounding yourself with are the ones that make you better, bring yourself out, right? And in a very short time, I'm shocked at myself too of that. So you're consistent, you are vulnerable, you are honest and loyal, giving, all the things, right, that I had heard, didn't need to be proven. But yeah, this being in this environment will bring out things in, if I'm giving advice, bring out things that you will need to answer a call, right? Because you're being asked to look inward and say, you have all the tools. We see it in you. You want to do it or not? So that's kind of how I wake up every day since I joined here.
I found it really cool that you didn't talk a lot about real estate.
I heard this wasn't a full-on real estate.
No, but I mean, like, your answers, you didn't say they make you pound the phones, they make you work on your scripts, from
Well,
what I
Will
heard.
does.
Well, I do, but there was, what I heard was you work on yourself,
Yep.
and if you get better, shit around you gets better. To dumb it down for dummy talk.
Okay, so say someone was new that was going to join the team, and you had like 2 minutes with them, and you'd say, okay, this is what you got to be prepared for.
Go ahead.
You're not going to hurt our feelings.
Oh, dear God, no.
Be prepared for an environment that is life being lived like outside, out loud. Like nothing is hidden. There's no like, we're going to go have a meeting off here and just talk about things. Then we'll be out and we'll tell you what's going on. You know exactly where everything is, what's going on at the time. Everything's available for you. You just have to ask. If you don't ask, it's up to you. So it's kind of one of those like big family things where you sit down at a table. Like if you went to your friend's house when you were a kid and it was a big family, like 5, 7 kids or something, and you didn't ask for the food because it was getting passed around and you didn't get full, it's your fault.
I like
That's
that.
a good analogy.
I really like that analogy. That's
Yep.
a great way. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
awesome.
That's fantastic. All right, let's bring it back to the year that you were born.
God.
Yeah.
Year 1961.
All right. So in the year 1961, John was born. Where was John born?
Youngest of 5.
Really?
Yep. We lived, I have 4 older sisters, 3 still living. I was born in Berwyn, Illinois.
All right, where's that about?
It's not south side, but kind of over where the new Comiskey Park is.
Oh, okay.
Chicago.
Oh, so it's a burb of Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
My dad was always in the menswear business. During the war, he was stationed in India, weirdly, and he was doing laundry for...
So in the 60s, so that'd have been the Korean War.
No, he would have been World War II. So the very end of World War II when he was young, in his 20s.
How old were your parents when you were born?
Probably, my dad was probably in his mid-40s, early 40s.
Wow, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because you threw the WW2 at me, that threw me off.
Yeah. So he got on the tail end of that. He and his sister were both in it. That's another story. But anyway, so he got into menswear because he had been doing laundry during the war when he got out.
Like a haberdashery?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was always interested in clothing, and he got a job, like in intermittent jobs when he and my mom first got married, and then he got hired in Chicago when they moved there, and started up with his mentor, a guy named Al Baskin, who his two sons went on to create the Mark Shale menswear stores in Chicago, and they had one up here in Minneapolis for a little while.
Any relation to Carol Baskins?
Not that one.
Okay, not that one. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Not the Tiger King. But yeah, so I was the kid, the only boy, right? And
Okay.
The youngest kid, and we moved probably 6-7 times when I was little because my dad would be transferred to a new site, and he took, he was.
When you're saying he was in men's clothing, tailor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tailor clothing. So there was a suit manufacturing company in Cleveland that owned 6 or 7 different chains of menswear stores throughout the U.S. Small, little mom and pops, or some bigger ones too. That was their distribution network. So they made the suits, and then they shipped them off to wherever. Kennedy's in Boston, Baskin's in Illinois, ultimately Juster's here in Minneapolis is how we ended up here. But we moved around like 6 or 7 times because they moved my dad around there to run these joints and all that. So I was always in some sort of store and in the back room and helping customers and helping the little tailors fit things, and so it was just part of life.
So
Is that why you're always very well dressed?
I'd say it's part of it.
Yeah, I try. I mean, it stuck with me.
That's a compliment.
It is a compliment.
Yeah.
My dad always was like, when you go outside, you're showing the world who you really are. So pajamas at the airport was not his jam. He hated that type of thing.
So did mine.
Yeah, your dad still does.
Yeah, he drives him nuts if we're not dressed.
Yeah, so it was just a big part of my family. 2 of my sisters worked there, and I worked there ultimately through high school and out of college, and yeah, and so I got to start.
Okay, we got to back it up. You just went to college.
Yeah.
All right, so let's back it up. We're on
How old were you when you moved to Minneapolis?
9 years old.
So I want the camera to get this face.
He's frustrated.
They can't see it.
They can.
No, they can't.
It's beautiful. Just like,
I know.
You are beautiful in every single way. So, you're the youngest of 5.
Yeah.
You quickly breezed over like 4 still around. What's the age gap between you and the others?
So the one next to me is 3. It goes like 3 to 8.
8 years gap. So
Yeah.
0, 3, 6. Like,
Yeah, 9 for my oldest, I guess. Yeah,
so it's a 9-year gap between you and your
oldest.
eldest. Okay.
Yeah. So my mom was. Imagine
She was
that.
pregnant all the time.
Yes, and just
Needed to sell a lot of clothes.
Or that's probably why he was traveling all the time.
All right.
By the time I came along, the story is kind of funny. So by the time I came along, my dad had friends in the industry, and he had to go to market. He had to go to New York. So I was born. I was the 5th kid, finally a boy. He was there the night I was born. He hopped a plane that night. And one of his buddies a tie salesman came in and sat with my mom. And the nurse came in the next morning, and she's like, "Would you like to see her son?" And he's like, "No, I'm not really." And
I'm not the dad.
Big scandalous, yeah.
That's a joke's on me. I'm the mailman.
So dad was like, "Hey, cool, good you're born. I got to go to New York."
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. 10 and 10, good to go.
Now, did your mom work, or was it your dad was the main?
Main guy, classic, beaver cleaver upbringing. For people that don't understand that, that's like a classic American family, married for 50 plus years. My mom was the homemaker, did everything, 5 kids, and Dad always worked.
Wow.
Yeah, churching and all the things.
All the things.
All the things. All right. So tell me about a young John. Is it John or is it Jonathan on the birth certificate?
J-O-H-N.
That's John. Okay.
John.
Yep. So no J-O-N because Jonathan spelled J-O-N.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
What elementary school did you go to in Edina?
wait, stop it, Sarah.
When we moved here, wait.
Who do I
answer? Who's running
me.
this ship?
I am definitely thinking I'm in charge of the ship.
Okay.
So, what's like your youngest memory of Chicago?
Okay, in kindergarten, when it was like bring your dad to work, or bring your dad to
school,
work day or school day.
Yeah.
I told the teacher that my dad was a fireman, and she called my mom, and she was like, "I think it's so exciting, what your husband does. And we'd love to have him here to talk to the kids." And my mom was like, "Really? What, they're gonna like menswear?" So, and then it was like, "Why did you think? What's wrong with what your dad does?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool."
Yeah. Yeah. It's not even my dad. My dad sells ties.
Yeah. So, telling fibs from an early age. But yeah, the Chicago deal, I do remember we moved from the neighborhood that I remember being, when I first started remembering things, I guess, when you're little, to a suburb called Oak Brook. And now that's like a really posh. At the time, it was just developing and all that. And it was a new development. My dad designed this house, a red barn house, and it was great. It was kind of one of these big undulating neighborhoods and stuff. And this truck came around in the summertime and fogged for bugs.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like really unhealtly and very, very
Super,
toxic.
yeah.
And all I remember is, as kids, we rode bikes through the fog. Yay, isn't this fun and potentially dangerous and
Potentially.
cancerous?
Yeah.
We didn't know it at the time.
How many of those kids are still around?
Me?
Yeah.
All I know.
There we go.
God.
Crushing it. All right. So you're riding through poisonous clouds.
Right, and the guy in the truck's probably like, "Yeah, kids, come on."
Yeah, it's cool. You want a cigarette?
Yeah, he's like the most popular non-ice cream guy.
Yeah, that'd be a good
Right.
driver. All right, so we're in Chicago, and do we go to school in Chicago at all, or do we not go to school till we move here?
Yeah, I don't remember much about that. We moved to Boston from Chicago.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
That was kind of the big deal. We became hockey fans, Boston Bruin fans.
Are you still a Bruins fan?
I am a Bobby Orr
Okay.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were until we moved here, and then it was the North Stars. So it was, yeah. And I don't know. As a kid, I started playing hockey in Boston.
Okay.
You can't, and that's how I say Boston.
Boston.
There's a little bit of that residual stuff. Both my parents are from Rhode Island. All my relatives are from the East Coast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there was this element of like Park the Car, Boston, depending upon the dialect that you want on the East Coast. We had that. And I grew up thinking, like, everyone's relatives lived halfway across the country. Like, I had a friend of mine who was like, "Well, we're going over to my uncle's house." And I'm like, "Oh, that's a big deal." He's like, "No, they live just down the street." I'm like, "No, they can't do that." So I'm like, all mine live wherever. So we saw them maybe once a year.
Okay.
But it was kind of cool because going back there for cookouts in the summertime, it was, instead of brats on the Weber grill, it was lobsters. My mom's sister married a lobsterman, and he would show up with 2 bushels of lobsters from his boat.
Yes,
So,
please.
God, yeah. It was good. It was a good
Why
time.
do we live here?
Because there's no earthquakes.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
there's
no
there's
crocodiles.
no crocodiles. Yeah.
No hurricanes.
No hurricanes.
We're
That's-
safe here. In
Or
this
Yeah.
middle bubble.
Yes. Oh, the upper Midwest. Yeah. Whipping shitties.
so then, when did you make it to Minnesota?
He was. We were living in Boston, and he was going to be transferred to Minneapolis for another menswear store, Juster's, which is no longer here, but it was the store that we came here for. And I remember the night I was sitting with my mom, and she got the call from my dad. He was at the airport, and he's coming back. He'd gone out to Minnesota to talk to the people and get ready for the job, and we didn't know like exactly when we were moving or what type of home that we were going to go into. We had this home he had just designed and built in Boston too. We had a brand new house, and we were kind of excited about that. My sisters thought it was a cool house because he had built an area for stables, and they were into horseback riding and all that. So he calls, and all I heard my mom on the other line said was, "You did what?" And so the story was, and remember, this is like the early 70s, so they're at an airport bar, and he meets this guy who's being transferred from Minnesota to Boston. And after a few martinis, these guys decided they should just swap houses. And that's how we got the house here in Minnesota, and he got the house my dad built in Boston. So no realtor, nothing. They just met over a couple
A
of
house
drinks.
swap.
Yeah. My mom was like, "You did what?" And so she had never seen where we were living or anything, and beautiful, faith and love in that marriage. So
Do you know the addresses of those two houses that he built? Because I would love to look them up and see what they're worth now versus the one he has now, and then calculate his net gain or loss.
yeah, 1 Devonshire Drive in Oak Brook, and 29 Stonecleave Road in Boxford, Massachusetts.
So
How in the world did I remember that?
Random.
have you thought of those addresses at all?
Nope,
See, this isn't this badass?
So okay,
This is
but
so cool.
it's not like
Crazy.
you were slumming it, because is this when you moved into Sunny Slope?
Yeah. Yeah, but we didn't, again, the whole, I didn't know what Edina
Yeah.
meant. And it was like, "Oh, you live in Edina." Well, we just showed up here, man. My dad,
This came from Boston, eh?
yeah.
Wow. And did those two did they keep in touch?
The house swappers.
I don't think so.
That'd be interesting.
Their last name was Huffsmith, strangely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not Huffman, but
Yeah,
close.
Still close. I like
Yeah,
it.
I don't know. I should probably look him up.
That'd be super fun.
Yeah. Hey, remember us?
That's crazy that we actually had somebody. It's funny when we just asked these random questions. Somebody was they remembered their or their elementary
school fight song
from 40 some years ago.
And they were like, I have no idea how that just
They
came
just
to
started
me.
thinking of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The strangest things happen.
You guys just bring it out of people. I'm telling you.
All
It's like,
right.
what memory needs to be released?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some hippie shit for you right there.
Deep tissue,
Yeah. Yeah.
brain massage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting adjusted later from a chiropractor. I don't know why that just came to me because
So
deep
jealous.
tissue. Blah blah blah. Okay. So what age are we when we get to Minnesota?
We are 9 years old.
9 years old. So that's 1970.
Yeah. 10.
Did you go to Concord?
I started half the year. I went to Wooddale School.
Oh, yeah, before it got torn down.
No longer there.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you know Wooddale was torn down?
Because it used to be across from St. Stephen's Church.
You weren't alive when that was torn
Kitty
down.
Corner.
Yeah, I just remember where it was.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah. So finished out my 4th grade year there, and then we went to Our Lady of Grace Church, and so then my parents enrolled me at the grade school there.
Were you a little shithead, or were you a good kid, or were you suck up, a tattletale?
So I went to Our Lady of Grace, and that's where you had to wear uniforms.
OLG.
So I was compelled to wear these uniform pants, which were I didn't like them. I didn't think they were cool, and so I kept a pair of really tight. They were blue pants and a light blue shirt, and the blue pants that my mom wanted me to wear were these baggy things that I thought were not flattering, or I don't know what I was thinking. So I kept the tight pair of jean type pants in my bag, and I'd go to school and I'd change them. And then
That's amazing.
and I
So
would remember to change them back when I would
Before
go
you got home.
And then one day I forgot and I got busted. So
So you were wearing skinny jeans?
yeah.
It was maybe jogger skinny jeans before they were popular.
Well,
Do you have any pictures of these?
Oh yeah.
I'd have to look. There's probably pictures, but yeah, I mean, my mom was just like, "We're big pants people. We're not wearing tight pants."
There's big pants people. That's amazing.
I don't know if it was an Elvis over
Oh.
Elvis deal, but
Yeah.
so
That's amazing.
yeah, and so that's where the whole Catholic thing, and I love OLG. It's a huge part of our family. My dad, every major life event has happened in that church.
Yeah.
And so
One of my best friends got married there.
yeah, I mean, I did the whole thing. I was like altar boy. I went into the boy choir there. The guy who ran the choir and the music program and also all the religious classes was a real mentor to me, and I named my oldest son after him. So it's just kind of a neat environment there. But yeah, just very Catholic-y with all the garments that you're wearing for altar boys and choirs and things like that. And so it's a neat little environment.
Well, I went to, I grew up going to St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, which is not too far.
Yeah.
It would have been by Wooddale School.
Yeah.
But it's, the two churches have a lot of similarities. It's like there's, like, this is the process. This is what we wear. I was a acolyte. You know where you light the candles?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I didn't really attend church.
Well,
I actually did for a little bit. I went to the Salvation Army Church because then they fed us.
you got lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. They had a tambourine and a drum that they passed around. And then as you're singing, like, you know, some of the kids would be able to play the drum. They only let me play the drum for like half a song and they took it away from me. Because you're supposed to be like, keep it in one doom, doom, doom.
And were you like,
yeah, and I was like, boom, 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 boom.
Broke into a full
I was drumming to the beat of the song. I wasn't keeping time.
you weren't helping?
We were rocking that bitch.
I think the Spirit was moving through.
Yes.
Yes.
I like this. I like this.
Holy Spirit, unite. All right.
Okay, so you went, OLG stops at 8th grade.
Right.
And then where did you go?
Benilde St. Margaret's High
You
School.
were Benilde.
Yeah. Yes. So they had recently.
I'm going to move this.
What's going on? Okay.
Yeah.
They had recently merged with St. Margaret's.
Hold on. What was their mascot?
The Knights.
The Knights?
Red Knight.
Red.
Fighting Red Knights.
Yeah. Big hockey player, like through grade school too. Like,
Really?
did all the Edina hockey, peewees.
What position?
Midgets, forward.
Okay.
Most of
Oh,
the
look at you.
What was your number?
9.
9.
Number 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your goal count?
One season, I had 15 goals.
Holy buckets.
Yeah.
Wow,
I was
that's really
small,
good.
but I was
I
fast.
bet you were a speedy little bastard.
Yeah, I got in the corner, got the puck, and got out before somebody could whack me. So
Okay. So you didn't like to be put into the boards.
didn't no.
Well, there's no hitting in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was then,
Yeah.
but yeah, like all the rules they have now.
Yeah.
are because of what happened when I was playing hockey. So
They have the stop signs on the back of the jerseys now.
Yeah.
So where did Benilde practice? Like, did you go to Braemar, or like, where did you practice
No,
hockey?
On Highway 100, there is what's it called? There's some ice arena that's kind of right behind Target now.
Oh, in St. Louis Park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was like 5:45 a.m. practices before school. So yeah. I know.
Keep saying everything's off 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll give you a tour, Will.
Is it by the AAA?
Yeah, it's not far.
This is a very geographical specific conversation.
Yes.
It's really, yeah, like you're not far.
Oh, you don't take 42, you take 77.
Anywho.
Moving
okay,
on.
so you graduated from Benilde,
Graduated from Benilde.
played hockey.
Played hockey there, and I played hockey almost all of grade school and high school. We missed going to the state tournament by one game.
Oh.
I did go to hockey camps in the summer.
Is that 1A or 2A?
God, back then, it was probably 2.
Okay.
Yeah. We were like the Don Bosco conference, which I don't even know what that is anymore.
I don't know what it is anymore either.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But no, I had a couple summers where I went to Lou Nanny's hockey camp.
Awesome.
Nanny Esposito hockey camp. And
That's
so
really
It
cool.
was funny because I had just had lunch last week with Cindy Vadnez, and we meet at Tavern 23, which is Lou's restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he comes in and he sits in the booth right behind us.
Nice.
And Cindy is like, talks to anybody, and she's like, just a second. And she turns around and hey, Louie, what do you think? And all of a sudden they strike up, and I'm thinking she knows this guy. She doesn't.
She doesn't know. She is freaking fearless.
Yeah. And so he gets up and he's like, oh, I'm going to take off. And I'm like, hey, Lou, I know you. Like, I went to school with your daughter, Michelle. She was a year younger than me at Our Lady of Grace because they went to that church.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. And I'm like, do you remember, like, I went to your hockey camp. And he goes, you mean the one over in Richfield Ice Arena with the Esposito brothers? And I'm like, yeah. And I said, my sister had a huge crush on Phil Esposito. She drove me all the time so she could look at Phil. And he goes, yeah, I just talked to Phil. He's doing the play-by-play in Tampa Bay. And, like, these are hockey players from the freaking 70s.
Legends. Freaking legends.
Yeah. And this guy's still going around. He's, what? She told me he was
I had
84.
no freaking clue about this, right?
Yeah.
Lou? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Lou. And he's
Yeah.
just bopping around his place. So that was great.
He's
for
on
me, it was
K-Fan a
fun
lot,
because
yeah.
I have a picture of all the kids who went to the camp had the picture with all the things, and it's J.P. Parisi, Zach Parisi's dad,
Yep.
Lou, and the two Esposito brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And Lou was like, well, Tony's not with us, but Phil's still alive. And I was like, God, I have a picture of me as a child with these huge safety glasses, because I wore glasses back then, with a big rubber chunk like right in the middle of my nose. And here's Louis. So, yeah, time.
That
full
is it.
circle.
Did you watch a lot of Slapshot?
Oh, yeah. Any hockey movie, anything that came out.
That lived in my house
Yeah.
with the tape. I should just come in one day.
Oh, put tape on there. Just do it. Yeah. Oh, we should do it for the golf tournament this year.
That's amazing. That's a really cool
Slapshot
story.
outfits. Yeah, it was kind of cool. So
That's a really cool story, man. Like I mean, I knew a little bit of. I mean, I know you, but I don't know a ton about your past. Like I knew your father was in haberdashery or in menswear, and
Yep.
but I didn't know you built two houses in this. I think you told me the house swapping story once, but
Yeah.
I don't remember. And then playing here. So what type of a student were you? Like were you a C, skip degrees type thing or
solid C.
solid C?
You had hockey to play.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not. No.
No.
Nope.
Just no. Okay. So what was our first job?
My first job out of college was working at my dad's
We're still in
store.
high school.
Oh, in high school?
I mean, I
He
know
was
you.
playing hockey.
I know you. I know you were working. Oh, hold
Did
on.
you work at the Perkins that they tore down?
Yeah. In Edina.
Oh my gosh.
Tell me, were you a server? Were you a
Yeah.
cook? What'd you do?
No, I was a busboy, actually. 'Cause
Okay.
they wouldn't let me do that. And I know
that
your
wishing
story.
well.
Yeah, what was up? Where did that go?
I don't know.
That was kind of a cool
literally
thing.
in our Perkins, I don't know if this is every Perkins or if it was just this Edina 50th in France Perkins, you would go in and there would be a wishing well of like little like
Toys
and
treats and
treats
things.
and giveaways and like so when you got to go to Perkins before you left, you could go to the wishing well and pick out one item.
No idea what you're talking about.
It was
Yeah, it was a
epic.
deal. Yeah. I don't know if they did that because there was a huge wait always on Sundays and
yes.
all the time. So maybe that also made the kids not crazy.
Like
waiting.
it was the only place for breakfast growing up.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't Hilltop there?
No.
No.
Oh, my apologies if you guys can see the face I just got.
They're
Jeez.
going to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Gosh, that wishing well. I haven't thought about that wishing well in years.
Yeah.
Probably like 30 years.
Yeah, I know so many people who went through that place working there. Like even when I was in grade school, my sister worked there, and when I needed money, I would ride my bike up there, and I knew she had a pocket full of
Yeah.
tips and stuff, and so I'd scam like 2
And that's like when they would have the smoking section on this side of the restaurant.
yeah.
Because it doesn't come over to this side because
Yep.
it's like
Oh, they didn't have a wall?
they did like a plexiglass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they would like glue things to the wall. They wouldn't hang things to the wall.
Okay.
So no one could
Perkins.
take things.
But at our Perkins that I worked at, there was the break room was smoking. So imagine this table being the break room. Right there, 3 feet out was where the line started for cooking food.
Gross.
Smoking right in the
Yummy.
kitchen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
ridiculous.
the smoke knows not to go there.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're in high school.
Yep.
Where do you go to college?
St. John's University.
Because it's the
Why not?
and that's where everybody goes. So did your sisters go to St. Ben's?
Catholic pathway. No. Oldest sister went to St. Mary's in Winona.
Okay.
The next sister went to St. Bonaventure in New York, upstate New York. My 2 younger sisters went to the U of M. Yeah, I was the only one who went to St. John's.
And is that how you became such a big U of M fan? Is through your sisters or just from?
No, I had a wonderful time at St. John's University. So good. that
Tell me more.
I was invited not to come back.
Oh, you were promoted to.
Please don't come.
Public. Yeah.
You can still go to church, but don't come here. So, yeah, and I transferred down to the U.
Okay.
My second.
Okay, what the hell did you do to get asked out of the church?
It was
the
more
school?
like what I didn't do, which
Homework?
was the curriculum. So,
How
kinda
much
should do that.
work do you not have to do to not get asked back?
Consistent poor grades, I'm sure.
So it was like a year.
It was halfway through my sophomore year.
freshman. So they took your money for a year and a half.
Oh yeah.
Then they were like, get out of here.
Yeah. I look back, that campus, that environment up there, it's really special.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate it at the time, but it's just being a kid and being stupid and making dumb things. I do regret it, but it put me on a path to something else. So
Right.
fine.
All right. So
Now you're going to the U.
well, hold
Yep.
on.
Oh,
I already know what type of a student he was in college, so I don't have to ask that.
Yeah.
Are you still
I guess
working at
that's self-
Perkins, or what are you doing now?
Well, I'm in college.
Yeah. Are you working?
No. So I remember we always had the family business, right?
Yep.
So that was the job.
Okay.
Whenever I came home from school, and when I transferred for sure, my dad was like, "You're living under my roof. You're also still working."
Oh, so you're working at the store, the clothing store.
Right. So I'm taking the bus down to campus.
Okay.
And working when I'm not at school.
So you are still working.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Now we're at the U of M, Sky UMA.
Yep.
Fighting Gophers. What are you going to college for? Like, what's your plan? How are you going to take over the world?
So against my dad's best wishes, I wanted to get into retail. I loved every single thing about the store. I loved the environment. I loved the customers. I loved the whole idea of bringing goods in for resale and presenting them and making them cool.
the displays.
Yeah, all that. And this was like old school retail where it was like, there was two stores, Juster's on Fifth Street was a 6-level store, and that was the original store. Right
Holy crap.
right across from Murray's, there was another old hotel there.
Really?
Before they built that sort of salmon colored
Yep.
thing that's there. And so taking the elevator up, it was one of those old like hand elevators.
Oh, you had
where
to crank it?
to
Yeah, to
crank it.
the level, yeah.
And when we first got there was an elevator operator. That was that guy's job, just to sit in the elevator.
Which floor, please?
Right. So it was just kind of cool. But I loved it, and I really wanted that. So when I went to the U, I took a business degree major with a retail. They have a retail merchandising minor that was offered out of the College of Home Economics. So I had most of my business classes on the main campus, not West Bank, but East Bank. And then I would have to take the bus over to the St. Paul campus in the home ec school for the retail classes like textiles and fabric construction and design.
Was that a female dominated class, or was it
100%?
Okay, yeah, just based upon the name of it and the time that you were going there,
Yep.
like the years.
Absolutely. And it was like me and another guy, and So
how was it?
It was. I loved it. I mean, I had a long distance relationship with somebody back up at St. John's, so that's not my jam. I wasn't really macking chicks at the classes.
That's kind of what I was asking.
Yeah, so it wasn't for me. But the cool part was that some of the professors were older retired retail executives that my dad had known throughout, like guys who worked for Dayton's, guys who worked for other large companies here. So it was kind of neat to learn all the mechanics of like, how do you present a budget, like a retail math budget? Like you have to be able to buy the new product, but you got to clear the old product, and that creates the open to buy to be able to buy the product. Otherwise, your inventory gets big. Blah blah blah. So, yeah,
very cool.
Cool.
Well, I just think back, like, how cool would it be now to have a 6-story men's store?
I would
clothing store.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a 6-story women's clothing store with good products.
Good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
We've lost that, I think, in retail, and I think we've lost a lot of
Clothes have become a throwaway item. And back in the day, shoes weren't a throwaway item. Sports coats, pants, like nothing was a throwaway culture item. It was, you would have you take the shoes to a cobbler, you would take the pants and the jacket to a tailor, and you would have them fixed. And it was the quality was just so much better than the shit we get these days. I mean, don't get me wrong, I buy nicer stuff and you pay a ton more for it.
Sure.
But the normal was high quality goods.
Yeah, there wasn't any
there was nothing else because we weren't getting textiles in from other countries, and I'm not against like shipping stuff in and whatever and products being made elsewhere. It was just a different time when the loom was here making the textiles, and then they would bring the product in, and
God, yeah, you said it, man. That store was kind of a museum too, because it had been there since 1907 when the company was started by P.B. Juster and his father.
Juster, Juster.
TER, yeah.
Okay.
And then they sold it to the suit manufacturing company. But when the store moved in the the late 70s to Nicollet Mall, which is where all the action was, this 5-story or 6-story store that not only had like levels of where you'd buy clothing. The first store was like shirts and ties and accessories and shoes and hats. There was a whole hat department. Like a guy, that was his job, was to sell men's hats, because that's what happened. And then the second floor was all suits and sport coats and slacks. The third floor was administrative offices. The fourth floor was a tailor shop, full-on tailor shop with all the big steam presses.
Yes.
And there was 70 people employed there. 70, just sewing and doing stuff. And then the top floor was what they called the penthouse, which is all this young men's cool fashion, hip stuff. So crazy stuff. But when they closed it, there was handcrafted tables that had like pineapples as legs and all this old oak leather furniture that they're like, yeah, we don't want that, because the new store was all going to be like smoked plexiglass and brass, because that and mauve. And it was all.
It was the 80s now.
The generational.
Like,
man.
So all that stuff, like there was 2 guys who were like, nobody wants this, I'll take it. And one guy started an antique furniture store with most of that.
Yeah.
And made a killing on it, because
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
got it for like $1 maybe.
It probably still smelled of cigars and bourbon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm serious. Yeah.
So just crazy. So no, I mean the quality thing, you're right? And you have to look hard, but you can find it. A lot of the manufacturing is in Europe. Some of the best still, Harris tweeds, things like that. That's in Scotland. That's in England. A lot of silks come from Italy. It's you got to hunt for it, but you can find it.
Where do you like to shop?
So once you live in a retail environment growing up, it's really hard to pay full price for anything.
Yep.
So I am more of a because I know what I'm looking for, and I know if I see it at a price that it shouldn't be at, like, ooh, that's a good deal. So I will, I'll kind of hunt around virtually anywhere.
Yeah.
Mostly the stores that are in Galleria. There's like a store called Jackson Gray.
Yep.
Which is good.
And they have one down in North Loop now too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was a big fan of the Foursome when it was down in Wayzata. I haven't been to the new location.
Yeah, CJ out there is the man.
Yeah, I know those guys because I used to sell them once I jumped over to the wholesale side and stuff. So they are carrying the torch.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, because I think they carry a lot of great products. And actually, one of my favorite products is these Civilian Air jeans. They're made in California.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
Foursome doesn't sell that.
They don't.
Alan Edmonds.
Alan Edmonds does.
Yep.
Yep. And Alan Edmonds is a shoe manufacturer in Wisconsin that makes a high quality shoe that I've had I've had these for 5 years now, and I beat the heck out of them. But no, I love a good product, and I am not a bargain shopper. Yeah. I'm just like 3 and 4, and let's
find what you like.
What else do I need? And we just in and out.
One in every color.
In and out, 100% in and out.
So okay, so you graduate from the U of M.
Yep.
And your degree was in.
Ultimately, business with a merchandising minor.
Okay, and then you went into wholesaling.
Yeah, I worked for my dad. Right out of college, so I graduated from doing all the odd things.
Yep.
And actually was a buyer. So for that store, my categories were like shirts, ties, sportswear, all the fun stuff.
Yep.
Socks, underwear, all that stuff. So my sister had been doing that. She got married and kind of had started to have kids, and so bowed out of that. And so my dad's like, if you want it, you got to earn it. And he asked all of his executives to kind of make the decision. He didn't make the decision whether I could work there. He left it up to them.
So help me understand the structure. So did your father own the store, or was he just the head cheese?
He didn't own it. So it's owned by the suit manufacturing company.
Okay.
Right. And then they install like presidents, vice presidents, merchandise managers, all that in each one of these small chains of men's stores.
I wouldn't call it small. I mean, it was 7 stories and had hundreds of employees.
Yeah.
That's not small. That's
but it's not like a 100-store chain. It was 10 stores. So.
Still, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. All right, so we're out of college.
Yep.
Did we ever get arrested in college?
No.
Did you ever have to run from the cops in college?
No.
What?
No, I'm pretty milky.
This
Really done anything.
this is boring. We're ending this.
I know.
We're not, because
We're not. We're going. All right. So we're college. We're working for the old man. Is that what we're doing for the rest of our life? Like, how are we feeling at this point?
Yeah, I remember I was sitting with one of the vendors that I was a friend of the family. They had sold us a bunch of stuff. And they're like, it's so cool to finally get to work with you. We work with your sister, and you guys are great. And like, how do you love it? Do you love it? Do you love it? And I was like, yeah. I mean, it's something that I really wanted, and I was so excited to get it. And I got here, and I'm waiting for that big kaboom to happen of like, yay, you got this.
Yep.
But I'd seen it done all my life, so by the time I got there, I was like, oh, this is how you do it. And yeah, so.
Did you even learn, like, legit question, did you learn anything in college that you didn't already know or had a very basic understanding of that you could have just maybe worked for 2 or 3, 4 years and been just as fine?
Oh, was college necessary is what you're asking?
For what you went to go do.
100% no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, honest answer. I like that. So,
and I say that as a father of 3 and one about to go into college.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? Why don't we wait?
Yeah.
See what you want to do.
Take your time. Do that gap year or 2.
Yeah.
What?
There's that term again.
There's that gap year term.
Gap year? Well, that's a term, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I'm still on my gap year.
Serving you well.
I'm 24 some years in on a gap year, and I'm doing okay. Okay, so we're working, and all of a sudden we got the thing we wanted, and it's not what we wanted.
Right.
What are we doing?
Well, at that time, we got really close with the vendors that we work with at the store, right? It's a family-run store, and everybody knows my dad and my sister and me and all our family. And so this guy who had a brand new kind of cool product that we had brought in, and it sold out faster than we could buy it. These jackets made by a company called Columbia Sportswear.
Oh, yeah.
Get the hell out. Seriously?
With the zip in, zip out. Yep. Nobody had seen it. They're in neon colors and all this cool
So this
stuff.
is the 80s.
Yep.
Okay.
And he can't get out of his own way. He's doing so much business. This guy named Dave Ferry, great guy. And I'm the king.
You can say shit.
With my office, and I'm wearing a suit every day. And he's like, hey, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. And he's like, look, here's the deal. My business is growing like crazy, and I need somebody. I'm expanding my team, and I'd love it if you would consider coming on. I'm like, well, what does that mean? What do you I don't even know what that means. He's like, well, I just need to travel with me, carry my bags, like learn the business, and then you be able to do that. And I was like, all I heard was carry my bags, and I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I don't carry bags for people. Like, but it's a great offer, I'm sure, but I was just so smug. And I said no. And then, like, 6 months later, I realized what I had missed out on. And I was like, hey, Dave, could you still have that offer? He's like, well, actually, I filled that position, but we'll see. So I was like, dang it. And then the business just kept growing. The company kept getting bigger. And he finally called me, and he's like, now it's me who's not deciding if I want you. And he was joking, but yeah. So I finally made it. I jumped over there and never looked back. And wholesale is, completely different than retail, right? So it's more like seasonal.
Hold the hell on for a freaking minute here. The creator of Columbia outerwear, or whatever the hell it's called, Columbia, like we just know it as Columbia.
Right.
You knew him.
Not the creator. Well, I did know him. So Tim Boyle, the Boyle family, that old lady on all the ads, Mother Gert Boyle.
Yeah.
Real person, real family.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, great story, right? She and her husband escape Nazi Germany. They come to the U.S. She and her husband take over this business that her parents started on the shores of the Columbia River. All that her dad knew how to do was make fishing vests, because that's what he did in Germany. He was a big outdoorsman. Mm-hmm. He made outdoor clothing, fishing vests, and hats. They started that company. Well, parents retire. The Gert and her husband take over, and they just start, building the business, offering a few other things. And her husband has a heart attack and dies. She owes a bunch of money to the bank. The bank comes in and says, like, your business isn't worth anything. I mean, we'll give you this much for it, or you can just run it into the ground. And Gert looks at him and says, get out of my office. I'll run it into the ground.
Suck it, Trebek.
Right.
Let's go.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's so cool.
at that time, Tim, her youngest son, is at college at the University of Oregon. She says, here's what's up. I need you to come help me. And so he quits school and he comes and he joins the company. And they somehow created that system where you can zip in and zip out. The first one of those was a hunting jacket. It was a camo hunting jacket with a down liner that came in it. Because when you're out hunting, whatever, I'm not a hunter, but like temperature regulates, right?
Yeah.
It's cold in the morning. It's not that.
Absolutely.
So then they're like, wow, okay. And they went to some ski show in Europe and they saw all these colors and they're like, we could do that and we could make a jacket that looks like this, but with that deal. And they created the Bugaboo jacket, which is the first one with the fleece. And it just, boom, exploded. And so Dave Ferry was a buddy of Tim's. They fly fish together. And when Tim was growing the company, he's like, hey, Dave, I don't have a rep in the upper Midwest. Do you want to try to sell this stuff? And Dave's like, well, okay. And that's how it was.
The Bugaboo. I haven't thought about that probably since 4th grade.
Yep.
1989.
Wow. That's
it was crazy.
A hell of a story.
It was whatever Crocs, you could, all of a sudden you couldn't turn around and not see Crocs. You didn't know they existed before. That's kind of what it was. Like you couldn't, the phone was ringing all the time to buy Columbia products.
Yeah.
So getting in there as a salesman and part of the sales team, it was a little not how life works, but it was a great experience.
And how long did you stay with Columbia?
Almost 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah. When I started, the volume for that brand was 90 million. And when I left, it was...
Is that units or are we talking...
Dollars.
Volume, 90 million
Dollars.
volume, yeah.
Dollars, wholesale dollars. And when I left, they had just cracked 1.4 billion.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's wholesale? So you can, triple, quadruple that?
Double it at least.
Double it at least for retail?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gert. Good job.
She just passed. Yeah. Her thing, she was such a card. When she would come to the Twin Cities, a couple times I was able to take her out. She'd go on media tours and go to radio stations and newspapers and give interviews and stuff. So you get to know her driving her around town, and you'd hear the same thing, but it was always that consistent story of like, you are in charge of your own destiny. You are the one that's responsible. And she was a hard worker, and life dealt her a hand, and she turned it around. And her whole thing was early to bed, early to rise. Work like hell and advertise. That was her thing.
Oh my God.
Early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise.
Right.
That's amazing.
I might get that tattooed somewhere. Like that's so cool.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. I love that. So, okay, after your Columbia, well, I just want to ask here at this point, when are your first 2 kids come into play?
Right around that time.
Okay. When you started at Columbia or left?
I was working for my dad when I met Leslie, and she was like, hey, it's a friend of your sister's, and it's they know this girl who's moving up from Iowa. She got out of school. We should get you guys together. And okay, cool. And then it worked, and we got married. And so Carter was born like right when I was still with my dad, and about 2 years before I left to go to Columbia.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Just hearing the timing.
Yeah.
It's really quite cool. Now, how long did your dad have the store?
Well,
or did he retire from there?
Yeah, he retired at 64.
Okay.
So the clothing industry had, when it was back then, it treated them pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Great.
That's a great story.
It wasn't showing signs of atrophy or anything at that point.
Okay.
So he got out at a good time.
Very cool. So we're working for Columbia. We get married. We're having some kids.
And are you in Edina at that point, or where are you living?
We bought our first house. We lived over. After we got married, we were renting over off of 34th Street and Crosstown, 62, kind of by the airport, like right where you're.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We rented there, and then our first house we bought was 58th and Park Avenue in South Minneapolis. near that listing that we had on Columbus.
Yeah.
Kind of right by there.
Right in that neighborhood.
Yeah. So stayed
Yeah,
there. Yeah, stayed there for 11 years. Did all the first-time homebuyer things. Tear up carpet, do the floors, paint everything.
That's a nightmare. Yeah. That's not
Yeah,
fun
it
at
was
all.
a good little house, but
Yeah.
good starter house.
That's awesome. So we, I'm not saying we're fast forwarding here, but we kind of go forward, and let's bring it more towards, the last couple of years, because we could spend a lot of time. I know you could tell stories for hours, and they're great stories. Let's hear a little bit more about you, as much as you want to share about the last couple of years of your life, and kind of maybe how we got here.
Yeah, so married twice, and there's a lot in there, that
There's a little in there.
yeah, we're probably a few episodes away from.
Well, but
getting
you're
the
having
full
that
story.
PTSD podcast coming out, so there we go.
That's right. Yeah. So just I went through a number of different brands after Columbia. So I stayed in the outdoor business, still in the wholesale business, and ultimately made the jump over to the natural food industry when I was kind of bored and just wasn't sure where I wanted to go. So I had been working for with vitamins and supplements. It aligned with my lifestyle, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I was adjacent to a realtor that I was married to, and I always was like, this looks like something that would be great. I wouldn't have to get on planes and trains and
All the travel.
rental cars and hotels, and that was like shut down. So that wasn't an option because somebody needed to get the paycheck and the benefits and all that. So
And that would be you.
and that would be me. So ultimately that, and then that marriage ended, and I found myself at a crossroads of like, okay, what am I going to do? So I've always wanted to do this. I went and took myself through licensing, got that taken care of, and I was going to go with the arms wide guy, and I was telling a friend of mine who is also a results agent, what was going, and he's like, oh, no, you're not doing that. There's no way. As your friend, I honestly cannot, in good conscience, let you do that. So he got me hooked up with Cindy, and I'm here at Results, and he and I were going to partner up and, rule the world. And so solo agent, been doing it forever, and it was great and exciting for me to finally, do the thing. But I realized I was more of not getting what I needed or wanted.
Yeah, he'd been doing this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Doing a good business, loving his life, doing it great.
Yeah.
And here you are, starry-eyed and ready to literally. This is your new take the world by the horns type thing.
Yeah. I mean, the big wake up for me was when the marriage fell apart. It was like, wow, I never thought I'd be here at this point in my life. And you can say, well, that sucks. Here's life dealt me this thing, and this is happening to me. Or you can be like, what do I do with this opportunity? How I can craft anything I want. There isn't anybody guiding me or telling me I can't do it anymore. So what do you want to do? So that's really why I moved into this and wanted to craft this life for myself. Because my dad really, he did retire, but he never really retired because he retired from the clothing business and immediately started a consulting business, which he had all the way till when he passed away at 93. So he was active all the time working. And so the notion of retiring and going to a beach and reading books just is not in my blood.
It's not in your DNA.
No. So I was like, what can I do for as long as I want to do it in any manner that I want to do it? And it brought me back to real estate. So that's how I got.
Because all we do is open doors.
That's not all. That's not all we do. And so with my first initial blush, it was great, but I was hungry for more. I knew I wanted some structure and accountability and, an environment that, I need to get to that place. I feed off being around people and a team and other people, and I will contribute, but I will also, just
Consume.
Yep. Yes.
that environment. I needed that, right? I was finding myself going to the office that we had by myself just to be in a space where there was people. And I'd sit there at the Eden office and I'd be like, okay, I'm a realtor now. When's it all going to start?
It all just comes flowing in.
Yeah, and it wasn't that way. So luckily I landed here.
I love it.
Yeah. I love it.
We love you, like, very much so. You're absolutely a part of this crew. People say the word family, and I don't know if I want to say the word family, but I mean we're more of like a gang. Like, I know for a fact I piss people off here, but it's all good because I can piss John off, and then I could be like, hey, I'm downstairs in the back alley, somebody's trying to beat me up, and John's gonna grab Evie, and they're gonna be like, freaking Will, I hate him, and then they just come down and help me beat somebody up in a dark alley type thing, and then we'll come upstairs and have a beer or something.
Well, I think like we've tried to move away actually from the word family because it's like sometimes families are dysfunctional. So it's like I don't want to bring in like dysfunctional energy.
Who told you that? That was somebody we're talking to.
Vanessa, more than likely.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is that more of that team mentality where like it sounds corny, but it's like, together everyone achieves more.
Yeah.
But it is true.
In a team wins or loses together.
Yeah.
Not one. If you're on a team, you either all win that game or you all lose that game.
Yep.
There's no other way around it, and that is truly how I think I know how I feel on this.
Yeah.
If you're not winning and you're not winning, but I'm winning, I'm not winning.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The tragedy. You talked about Gopher football and how did you become such a big fan? So it's been like the sad. Be a sad fan because they haven't been winning for a long time. Mm-hmm. They got a new coach about 6 years ago, PJ Fleck. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's very polarized.
Row the boat.
People either get him or they don't. There's somebody else I know like that, and he wrote a boat. He wrote a book about that phrase, row the boat.
Row the boat. Yep.
And everyone's like, oh, row the boat. This guy.
I love it.
The boat sinks. The story of that is very different from what other people take from that. Mm-hmm. He had a child that did not make it past childbirth, born quickly and then passed away. And he decided he was going to live his life for that child. So he was going to keep rowing in his boat no matter what life threw at him. And he's got metaphors of like your back is where you're going when you're rowing a boat, not canoeing or paddling. Mm-hmm. When you're rowing, you physically can't see where you're going. So you're trusting where you're going. So there's a lot of things in his philosophy that I took to heart in terms of like, motivating and how am I going to live my life? This is great. I love this concept. And then he takes it further into the team and he's got all these acronyms for how he coaches. His responsibility he sees isn't just to make good football players. He's like, I'm taking young men and making them into adults. So he has like date night to show them etiquette, how to treat women, things like that. So it's huge. But we talk about family, and you had an acronym for team. Mm-hmm. Together, everybody achieves more. He has one for family. The letters there mean forget about me, I love you. And I love that because I think that is the essence of any group of people that you are with together, oftentimes, a family. And it's dysfunctional for sure, and you can fight, but in the end, there's something that bonds you.
Yeah, I do love that. Forget about me, I love you. And what is it about like sports, like coaches? Like when you think about the really
good ones, the great ones,
the great coaches are able to there's something that they're able to do within the team members, like the teammates, where they get them to believe. They get them to believe in themselves. They get them to believe. It's even just how like the Vikings this year.
Yeah.
They actually we can go into this sports.
They believed they were overachievers to the max, but they believed that they could win.
Yeah.
And somehow they freaking did. Like they should not have gotten where they were but you're right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go ahead.
No, you're on a roll.
All we need is 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? You're like the mentality and the mindset to say something like that, where you're down by 30 some points.
Yep.
And you're getting your ass whooped. And you just walk in there. Hey, babe, all we need is 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. There's just something about like
get one.
I'm not a huge like sports fanatic, but I do love sports.
With the good coaches, yeah.
And you can tell teams that are knit together with good coaching and good mentoring versus like the Vikings this year versus the Vikings last year.
Yeah.
The team really didn't change.
No.
The players.
Not really.
They really didn't change, but the team changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think there's something that everyone can learn from sports. Like when they come together as a team and actually work and play together. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about like, oh, he had a good game or like you had a good sale. It's no, everybody wins when everybody wins.
I love the fact that to a fault maybe at times, but whatever, but Kirk Cousins, he'd be like, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
I could have done that better. I'm sorry I didn't get that to you. He never once said, why the hell were you out of position? And I threw that perfectly. You catch that shit. Like, that's never been his MO. And it's just to have him as a leader on that team. It is very inspiring to see how he does that. And some people think he's being a candy ass or a whatever.
Can I just comment on Kirk Cousins for a second?
Yeah.
I didn't like him for how long has he been here?
Yep, 5-6 years. I didn't like him for the first 2-3 years.
I started to like him this year.
Yeah.
Because it's like his leadership showed up differently under this coaching staff.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you saw how he interacted with the previous coach and all that. But you guys, there's a metaphor, like for at least from where I sit in the 6 months I've been here, from a lot of what I'm being exposed to, right? The coaches at Glover, the way that we look at things, you know, the 5 touchdowns, right? Gotten the shit beat out of us from wherever. I'm on that phone. I'm getting the shit beat out of me, but I'm picking up that call and doing one more. So it's, you know, it is translatable and transferable.
Yeah.
To really anything, not just this business that we're in. But I'm amazed that, you know, there's enough of that environment here that you thrive in, and not everybody can. That's the other thing, right? And the Fleck will always say, like, I'm not for everybody. Like, you might be a 5-star kid out of high school and every school wants you, and we'll talk to you. But guess what? You may not. I may not want you here, and you may not want to be here, and that's okay. We're not going to get you just because you're a good football player. You have to fit the culture.
Yep.
Yeah. Culture ad. That's
I like
awesome.
that.
Well, we could talk about this stuff for freaking days here. Man. All right. Before I ask you the final questions here, if somebody has any buying or selling questions for real estate, if they're looking to have their home remodeled, a new toilet, anything done like that, you're a great person to contact. How would they get a hold of you?
John at agoodlifegroup.com.
JOHN.
JOHN.
What are those digits, son?
612-940-0383.
Woo, roll the boat.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we wrap up every podcast with tell us your top 5 favorite restaurants.
Okay. I did do a little homework for this.
Okay.
So.
All right, so let's go with number 5.
Like in descending or ascending?
Any order is fine, but good question. But
I like your favorite for the last.
Yeah, if you can, save your favorite last.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is gross for some people, but it's just my jam. So I do have a guilty pleasure. I love these Chinese buffets, right?
Like the Supermoon buffet?
Oh God, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
What's your favorite one?
Actually, there's one on Lake Street that's...
Oh, you were talking about this
What
the
is
other
it
day.
called?
Fill in the blank. They're all the same. They're like, you know.
I think we need a team outing.
No, I wouldn't. See, the thing about the guilty thing is you can't really share that with people because then you're like, isn't it great? And everyone's
Like, this is rubbish.
Like,
Yeah.
this is terrible.
Is it more than $10?
Right, probably with inflation, yeah, it's probably like 13 or 14
yeah, okay.
bucks.
But it's one of those places that just a few years ago probably been like $7.95 for lunch and $9.95 for dinner,
For sure.
and like $13.95 on
What's your
seafood
favorite
night.
thing out of the buffet?
So I do this thing with the hot and sour soup, and I mix it with the, usually they have the sauteed green beans with garlic.
Yes.
And,
Szechuan?
Yeah, and do that with some rice. Yeah. So I know it's weird, but anyway, that's low on the top.
Okay, that's number 5.
All right, number 4.
Number 4 would be the Ka Luna, which is over
yes.
in
Uptown.
on Lindale.
Yeah.
Really unusual.
What is it?
It's
Chef Ann.
Pan Asian. Yeah, it's
Oh, it is?
Thai, and they just are winning all sorts of awards. And, yeah, it's the most unusual menu, unique food, I think,
But if it's Chef Ann, I will try it.
in the
Yeah.
Twin Cities.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the environment is, it's like, how did this get here?
Didn't she just get nominated for a James Beard Midwest Award?
Yes.
On that restaurant.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and where it is and where it's located it's great for that neighborhood, and I would only probably visit it in the summer because of the exterior patio portion of it. So that's really cool.
Number 3.
Number 3 would be the Del Frisco's.
Oh, really?
Really anywhere. Yep, I'm not a big steakhouse guy, but that is the only place where I've had memorable, like completely billion-degree seared ribeyes.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple menu of like sliced tomatoes and onions with blue cheese. First of all, a huge martini that has ice dripping off of it with olives. Sliced tomatoes, onions with blue cheese. That's a salad. And then the seared ribeye. And then they make these potatoes that are like potato chips that are tossed with sauteed onions. I don't know how they do it separately or mix them together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Will and I went to Del Frisco's for the very first time this year in New York City.
And?
Oh, yeah.
We ordered the tasting menu.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that's the way to go because we've heard too many good things about Del Frisco's.
We did it wrong.
But I think we just did it wrong. So it needs to be a repeat.
You know, I normally don't give restaurants a repeat, but a couple people that have told me that it's really good, we just did it wrong.
We did it wrong.
I think we did it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steakhouse. I mean, I don't eat a lot of red meat, but if I do, I'm very particular about it.
So you're a ribeye guy.
Ruth's Chris, Morton's. It's like those feel like chains, but I know that Del Frisco's is a chain, but they do it pretty good.
Well, I'll make you a ribeye. I'll make a couple ribeyes. I got you. I'm pretty sure I can. I make the best steak I've ever had. I do, right?
You make great steak. I think it's better on a gas grill.
Better on the gas grill or in the pizza oven.
Yeah, like you've been cooking it lately on the smoker. And it's just not as good.
Well, it's still good.
It's just feedback.
It's not the same. I don't like feedback. Screw you. Number two.
This is sort of a hybrid, but my daughter lives in Vallejo, California. And I thought I had good, like, tacos and yeah. So Casey's a high school social studies teacher at Richmond High School, and so they took us on a taco truck crawl through the neighborhood around the school, and every truck that we went to, he had either taught their kids or knew the family or whatever.
Oh snap!
And
the good
just
stuff.
Oh my God, the birria, all of the
That's my favorite.
Yeah, carnitas, everything.
Yep.
So I know it's not fine dining, but man,
no.
It was.
There's something different there's something different about California tacos.
When we were San Diego.
Like I will always remember this chorizo taco that we had.
Yeah, we were going to San Diego. We're driving from LA to San Diego, and we rented a convertible. Sarah got sunburnt, and I'm like, well, I want some food. And I'm like Googling, and I'm like, there's this taco place. And I'm like, how does this freaking place have 5,700 reviews? And it's like 4.9. There's nothing around
in like
here.
A strip mall.
It's in a freaking strip mall.
Yeah.
We go there.
Like here we are, almost 9 years later.
That's the reason we've had chorizo tacos now moving forward. And every single time it's a disappointment compared to that taco.
Except for one taco shop.
Well, not their chorizo ones.
I love chorizo. Yes.
You talking about
the one in Crystal?
Oh, that's okay.
They have good chorizo.
Animale's tacos are really good, but they don't do a chorizo one.
Yeah.
Aren't they coming back? Aren't they doing something for Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna order it.
Yeah, we are gonna order that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, John, we're doing it.
Yep.
I need them.
Boom. The owner's John as well. All right.
Number one. I was lucky enough to eat at a place in California called the French Laundry. And it is like
were you telling me about this, or did somebody else? Sorry, continue.
It was and continues to be one of the top restaurants in the world, and so it was on a trip that some friends of us took through the wine country, and we just we kind of were lucky enough to get a reservation there. And it's this 12-course menu. Everything that comes out is handcrafted with little, tweezers and all that other stuff.
Somebody was talking about this when we were talking about Travail just recently.
Yeah.
Because they
crazy, like why does this exist? But I'm glad it does moment, and just super cool.
I'm looking it up right now.
Hard to replicate.
Sarah's like, we're going to go to California just for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's way out, in wine country, and there's no sign. It's just like a brown building.
Yeah.
You got to know like where you're going, and so. Yeah,
that is
awesome.
I do.
I love to cook. Like the passion's there, and living alone, I don't have an opportunity to cook for a bunch. My 18-year-old loves it, kind of, not a lot, But yeah, so I'm one of those guys where I do like to go out, but I'm like, I could have made that better at home.
Yeah,
I know you
it's
feel
so
that way
annoying.
too,
Yeah, yeah. There's a few places where I just don't even try and make the dishes because it's really hard for me to order a steak somewhere, and
Yeah.
Okay, John, I loved this podcast because we've worked together now for 6 months, but like we just, every time there's just like something new that we learn, and that's one of the reasons why I love this podcast.
Yep. Yeah.
If
fun.
people want to hear more from you, you're going to be starting a podcast.
Yeah.
And what is it going to be called?
It's going to be called the PTSD podcast. And those letters aren't what you think they stand for. They are people.
Well, kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. People thriving and surviving after divorce.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Stay tuned, folks.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for you to share what you've been going through and where you're going, the journey you've been on, the journey you're going to be going through. So that's super cool.
Awesome.
I'm excited. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I super duper appreciate you.
Thank you.
And as always, we out. Deuces.